Hello. This is an overview of the Minds grassroots-led economic research campaign. So in this overview, I will explain to you what is this economic research and how you can benefit. Okay? First of all, my name is Dwight Chestnut. I'm an ex-aerospace engineer turned entrepreneur and business consultant, and I'm the founder of Minds and the originator of this economic research campaign. Now, I do talk income in this overview, therefore I will offer you a quick legal income disclaimer. I will briefly explain to you why it's professionally and financially beneficial for you to participate and or support this economic research. However, there are no guarantees of success. Your results will vary based on what you decide to do with this information. All right? So, what is this grassroots-led economic research campaign? Let's start off with a famous quote, okay? This quote is by Don Tapscott in this book called Wickonomics. Weird name, old book too, but still the quote is very simple and powerful. Mass collaboration changes everything. Mass collaboration changes everything. Now, in this particular setting, we're talking mass collaboration among the grassroots sector or grassroots-led internet-centered collaboration. For example, grassroots-led means a mass collaboration among common, ordinary people without relying on investors, venture capitalists, financial institutions, big corporations, or the government. Think about it. Almost everything that most people do, there's some reliance on either government, jobs, financial institutions, or whatever. In this case, it's ordinary people to come together online to collaborate on a very specific objective. So think about this for a second. What do you think is the potential of a large-scale, grassroots-led internet-centered collaboration specifically targeted at addressing a pressing economic issue? Now, the key word is economic, not political. For example, you may be thinking of a grassroots movement, particularly focused on some kind of political issue. This has nothing to do with politics. It's 100% economic. For example, say this. When considering the internet, smartphones, and social media, society is more connected now than ever before in history. Sure you'd agree with that, right? However, most of this well-connected society is still living paycheck to paycheck with little to no savings and assets. Think about that for a second. With all this technology and interconnectivity, most of this well-connected society is still living paycheck to paycheck with little to no savings or assets. So, ask yourself this. How can the masses use this internet connectiveness to create more wealth for themselves? How can the masses use this internet connectiveness to create more wealth for themselves? The answer? We believe the answer is large-scale, grassroots-led, internet-centered collaboration specifically designed to address this issue. Okay? Take a look at more of a historic perspective. During the Industrial Revolution, the wealth building capacity for the average worker increased significantly as workers migrated from farms and small shops to earning their wage from factories. Back then, it was a historic transition, the Industrial Revolution, right? In other words, the masses effectively over time moved off the farms and craftsmen's shops to go to work in the factories. They began earning wages, benefits, and those kind of things that we know of today. So it was a mass transition that improved, over time, that ultimately improved the standard of living for the average individual significantly. Again, it was a historic transition. Now, as we undergo this information revolution we know today, shouldn't there be a corresponding historic transition that dramatically improves the wealth building capacity for the masses today? Based on the information, the internet, technology, connectiveness, shouldn't there be a historic transition that dramatically improves the wealth building capacity for the masses? If so, where is it? Right? All we see today is a decrease in middle class and a rising gap between rich and poor. Right? Again, we all know about the income inequality issue. It's been around for years. Okay? So again, we believe the answer is large-scale, grassroots-led, internet-centered collaboration specifically designed to address this issue. So to this end, the focus of our grassroots-led economic research is to put the power of large-scale, grassroots-led, internet-centered collaboration to the test. Okay, how do we do it? Well, first we establish a detailed operational mission objective. I'll get into that later. Okay. We then encourage grassroots individuals from all walks of life and professional disciplines to come online part-time, learn the mission, and buy in to the mission. Okay? Upon achieving buy-in, people decide how they want to participate in and or support this mission. Very simple. Now, some would choose to participate professionally, right? Again, aspiring entrepreneurs can participate part-time as independent contractors. Again, online part-time. Career professionals participate in part-time as independent contractors, i.e. accountant, administrative assistants, computer programmers, project managers, etc. Home and small business owners participate in part-time as independent contractors, i.e. consultants, coaches, product producers, etc. Okay? And affiliate and referral marketers participate in part-time as independent contractors. Again, all coming online to put this large collaboration concept to the test, i.e. or the mission, or have run the operation mission designed to put this large-scale collaboration concept to the test. Okay? Now, these individuals can earn significant part-time income linked to the value of their professional contribution to the operation mission, right? No one works for free, right? So again, it's an income-producing solution, very lucrative, as you will learn, for those who choose to participate professionally in this effort. Now, others who do not want to participate professionally, who buys into the mission, will simply help crowdfund operations while tracking progress. Okay? As you will learn, we have multiple crowdfunding solutions feeding this activity as well. So it would be more of a crowdfunding function for others who choose not to participate. Okay? Now, speaking of mission, here's kind of like a snapshot of the mission. Our operational mission has to do with building an economic bridge from traditional employment to a new worker-owned model. For example, this vision is very specific. Today, for example, 80% of the workforce work for hourly wages and company-sponsored benefits. And we know based on this that most people are living paycheck to paycheck with little to no savings or assets based on this model. We plan on bringing the power of large-scale collaboration to create this bridge, right? And the long-term objective of this future, objective of this effort is to create a scenario where 80% of the workforce are financially empowered worker owners in collaboration with employers earning 3 times more income when compared to today's workforce adjusted for inflation. Here's the key point. 80%, the whole workforce, and once we make the transition, 80% of the workforce will be financially empowered worker owners. Here's the key. It's not just a few. The goal is for the masses. Right? And a very aggressive mission, I'm sure you would agree. Right? But this is our mission objective. Okay? So the bottom line, we will direct this economic power of large-scale, grassroots-led, internet-centered collaboration toward building this bridge. Now, back to this same statement. Kind of give you more of a feel as to the concept of mass collaboration changes everything as far as what is the long-term potential, especially with this mission. Now, get into the mission in more detail in the next section. Okay? Now, we grow operations according to a 4-stage business plan. Pre-launch to stage 1, which is early introduction. Stage 1, early growth and development. Stage 2, building the foundation. Stage 3, main operations. And stage 4, which is corporate integration. Okay? And each stage is supported by a unique crowdfunding solution. For example, pre-launch phase 1, we use the early support crowdfunding solution. Pre-launch phase 2, we use a program called Empower the Crowdfunding System. Stage 1, a more mainstream version of the Empower the Crowdfunding System. Stage 2, a new program called the Gradual Entrepreneur Allocated Resource System. And stage 3, a new program called the Virtual Income Exchange. Now, what these are brand new crowdfunding solutions that we build from ground up to support this mission objective. Why? Because we cannot rely on traditional crowdfunding solutions to do it. Those traditional solutions are just too limited based on what we want to do. Okay? You'll learn more about that later on in this presentation. Now, early projections. These are very early projections based on projections. This project has not launched yet. It's still in early pre-launch, but this is our projection. So based on the early pre-launch projections, we anticipate creating a $16 million per month funding engine using the new Empower the Crowdfunding System in preparation for the stage 1 launch. Again, you'll learn more about this later throughout this presentation, but that is the projection. And this is just the beginning. Okay? All we do which is run that mission, help build that bridge, and crowdfund interactivity between the all the participating professionals. So, bottom line, if you choose to participate professionally, you will have direct or indirect access to a constantly expanding crowdfunding pool of funds, depending on how you choose to contribute. This applies for aspiring entrepreneurs, career professionals, participating home small business owners, and participating affiliate and referral marketers. Okay, it's a lot here, folks. A lot to learn. But again, the potential, I think, is monumentous. What we can do with this thing. Again, it goes back to exploring the power of large-scale collaboration toward a directed and focused economic research initiative. Okay? All right, so let's get into the mission. Here's the formal mission statement. To conduct grassroots-led economic research to how to apply the internet and other information technology to help the masses increase their workplace income at least 3 times over. Again, very bold mission, right? To conduct grassroots-led economic research to how to apply the internet and other information technology to help the masses increase their workplace income at least 3 times over. Now, economic research is the key phrase in that mission. Now, whether we're doing scientific research, economic research, or otherwise, all research must start with a hypothesis or a guess as to how to meet our objective, right? Then we conduct the research to field test, evaluate, and validate the hypothesis. If the hypothesis doesn't work out, we present a new hypothesis and start over. That's with any kind of research. Okay? This is our starting hypothesis is as follows. To accomplish this mission on a large scale, our starting hypothesis is based on the notion of integrating new worker ownership solutions into the mainstream workplace in ways that benefit both employees and employers. I mentioned that earlier. Okay? Consider this. According to the Economic Policy Institute, income inequality is largely caused by the fact that hourly compensation is not keeping track with productivity. You can see from this chart, which is, in other words, the average hourly worker is not benefiting from the productivity they help create. This started back in 1973 as globalization took off and unions lost their economic power. Slowly but surely, workers lost this ability to earn income based on their productivity. Okay? So, what better way to address income inequality issue, or this income inequality issue, than to ensure workers own a percentage of their workplace productivity instead of just renting it for an hourly wage? So that's why worker ownership, I think, is the ideal solution. Now, there's some issues that we have to consider. For example, Harvard Business School published a research paper regarding how employee ownership and worker ownership leads to broad-based wealth. For example, they concluded that the median household would see its net wealth nearly doubled from $121,000 to $230,000. The median wealth of families without a high school diploma would increase fourfold from $20,000 to $83,000. And the median wealth of black families would increase even more from $24,000 and $106,000. I'm sure you would agree that is amazing, showing the power of the wealth building benefits of worker ownership. Now, today, several workplace models exist. Employee stock ownership plans, worker cooperatives, and employee ownership trusts. Okay? Now, here's the key point. The Harvard study illustrates the potential of worker ownership models, right? However, the study emphasizes net wealth, not income. Again, net wealth is obviously still good, but not income. And to go back to our mission statement, our mission is to focus on helping the average individual increase their workplace income 3 times over. Okay? Another key point. To address the income inequality issue on a large scale, we need large-scale adoption of employee ownership models. Now, traditionally, these worker ownership models has been around since for over 67 years and has only a 0.02% saturation or adoption in the workplace. Multiple reasons why, and primarily because of complexity or lack of understanding of the models, or the fact that traditional employers do not want to incorporate worker ownership models into their workplaces. Why? Because of the models. The models, in other words, these models, I think, is inadequate for what we want to accomplish, which is our mission objective. Okay? Again, they've been around for years, especially worker cooperative, but, and again, they have their place, but from what I can see, these models will not work relative to meeting our objective of the threefold increase in workplace income and large-scale adoption. Okay? So the bottom line, worker ownership is a solution, but we need to introduce, teach, evaluate, and field test a new worker ownership model that can ensure the average worker can increase their workplace income at least 3 times over while building ownership equity in the company and secure large-scale buy-in among the general business public, which will lead to large-scale adoption. And these points are missing from the traditional work models as shown. Okay? With this in mind, we introduce the new Empowered Employee Compensation Model, or EECM for short. Okay? Now, with this model, employees run their own business under the roof of employers with the support of their employers. Key word, with the support of their employers. It means ownership, multiple income streams, and a high savings rate instead of what we know today, which is paycheck living with little to no savings or assets. The model integrates 10 new income resources and benefits into the mainstream workplace, making it easier for the average employee worker to increase their workplace income at least 3 times over. Okay? So, with this in mind, to summarize our mission, as I mentioned earlier, our mission is to build this economic bridge from the traditional workplace to the new Empowered Employee Compensation Model. That's a core mission. The research activities involve both building the bridge and field testing the models we have in place, as well as field testing and evaluating the validity of the model itself. Okay? All these areas will be sort of incorporated into the economic research functions, which is what? Mainly is bringing people online, presenting the details of this thing, and getting feedback, and encouraging the participation. And participation will also bring feedback, so on and so forth. So we learn by doing, through the collaborative interactions that require to both building the bridge as well as validating this model. Okay? So, right now, let's dig into the Empowered Employee Compensation Model to learn more about what it means. Okay? First of all, the formal name for this bridge is called the income reengineering process. Just a formal name. Here's the background for that name. For example, income reengineering is the counter to something called business process reengineering, which has been around for years. For example, business process reengineering states it's the fundamental rethinking and radical redesign of business processes to achieve dramatic improvements in critical measures of performance such as cost, service, and speed. Now, this term came out in the 1990s in a book called Reengineering the Corporation by Michael Helmer and James Champion. Primary focus was to teach companies how they can use technology to streamline their workplace and downsize workers effectively. And that was one of the big downsizing movements back then, driven by this concept of reengineering in the workplace, right? Obviously, people lost jobs and the whole 9 yards there. But that in mind, income reengineering is the counter to that process. It states, income reengineering is formally defined as the fundamental rethinking and radical redesign of business processes to achieve dramatic improvements in the income earning and wealth building ability of the masses. Again, just a counter, right? Now, that in mind, the Empowered Employee Compensation Model represents a radical rethinking and radical redesign of the mainstream workplace designed to achieve dramatic improvements in the income earning and the wealth building ability of the masses. For starters, enterprises operate under the model of it's 100% owned by employers and active employees, no outside investors. 100% owned by employers and active employees, or active worker owners. In addition, based on the supplemental benefits fee in this model, these enterprises can raise unlimited capital without violating the 100% ownership provisions and without going into debt. That's powerful. They can raise unlimited capital without violating 100% ownership provisions and without going into debt. Here's sort of like a quick little breakdown. The model consists of primary resources, which are productivity-based compensation, ownership equity, and the residual income equity benefits where people actually run their own business while on the job. People show up for work to build wealth, not just to earn a paycheck living, right? Now, supplemental benefits feed that issue, or feed the primary resources of the state. The supplemental benefits are designed to serve as a continuous and ongoing financial foundation to the primary resources. These resources help people build and maintain that financial foundation, leading away from paycheck to paycheck dependence. This way, people can comfortably focus on building wealth at work as opposed to worrying about hourly pay. Okay? So let's take a closer look at each of the primary resources. Productivity-based compensation. Here, empowered employees are paid a negotiated amount daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly linked directly to the professional services they provide to their employer. They are paid based on daily production, not a predetermined wage or salary. Nor is it linked to a company's sales and profit. It's hard dollars linked to what empowered employees do daily. Also, employees will not have to wait around for raises. They can create their own raises real time simply by increasing their daily productivity. Right? It's a very simple concept. Ownership equity. EECM enterprises are 100% owned by the original owners and the worker owners. No outside investors who do not work for the EECM enterprise. Therefore, all empowered employees will receive ownership shares. They can also invest in the EECM to buy more shares while they work there. However, this is key. In order to maintain 100% ownership provisions, once employees leave, he or she have to cash out equity and invest into their new EECM enterprise. It's like selling a house and investing the proceeds into a new house. That concept is required to keep it 100% owned by active workers. Again, just a new concept, right? The residual income equity benefit. This is my favorite benefit. The residual income equity benefit is what I call a movie star benefit. Regardless of whether empowered employees is an accountant, engineer, office manager, administrative assistant, or secretary, this benefit pays empowered employees a percentage of each sale made by the EECM enterprise, whether that sale is made over the internet, inside an office, or over a retail counter. The benefit pays while individuals work for the enterprise, and it can continue for some predetermined period and negotiated in the negotiated period, even after the empowered employees move on to another enterprise. Again, it's like how movie actors earn income each time a rerun plays. Now, this particular benefit had to be negotiated based on what people do. Again, one of the concepts behind this model is that employees and employers collaborate around these resources. Okay? So as you can see from the primary resources, employees effectively run their own business while on the job in collaboration with employers. Now, it may be easy to ask yourself, why would a founder or employer pay this kind of compensation to employees? Well, consider this. Loyal and dedicated employees are the most valued asset to an employer. So you'd agree. This model simply encourages founder and employees to step up and pay people what they are worth instead of just a predetermined fixed hourly wage or salary. Employers benefit long-term from the significantly more loyalty, longevity, productivity, and profits. Pretty simple concept. Okay. Okay, with that in mind, again, going back there on those primary resources, this just shows you how the models, each of those resources, the ownership, give the employee an opportunity to control their own income. Productivity-based compensation, ownership equity, and the residual income equity benefits. And it's like this: people show up for work to run their own business, especially when you consider the residual income model, where regardless of whether the product is sold over a retail counter, internet, or whatever, each employer, whether they have a secretary or an administrative assistant, will get paid each time a product is sold. A negotiated percentage, obviously, right? I think that's powerful, and I think it's a good way for people to truly build wealth working for the company that they choose to work for. All right. Okay. Now let's get into the supplemental benefits. What the heck are these? Right. First of all, here's a complete outline of supplemental benefits. We have wages and salaries, which is 10 to 0. I'll explain that in just a second. We have virtual wages, virtual dividend, virtual bonds, virtual stock, and private retirement plans, and group medical. take a look at wages and salaries, for example. Wages and salaries are phased out of the EECM, technically, which is why wages and salaries are considered temp to zero. It's in the model to illustrate various transitional scenarios where employees may be learning and transitioning to the new EECM primary resources. But the goal is to, a perfect scenario is that people show up for work initially. The first day they will be on hourly wages and salaries, but over time, they will slowly but surely transition to the new ownership-based models, according to a time frame discussed between he or she and their employer. Think about it, though. Consider this. People may be saying, "Oh God, no wages and salaries. And how can you work without an hourly wage?" Consider this: productivity-based compensation and the residual income benefit pays daily, linked to real-time productivity and real-time product sales, which can easily offset the need for a fixed wage or salary. Okay. In addition, the financial benefits associated with these supplementary benefits will also help offset the need for a fixed hourly wage or salary. I'll get into that in just a second. Also, consider this relative to hourly wages and salaries. With an hourly wage, people trade time for money. And we all know that everyone has limited time, right? For this reason, anyone still on hourly wages and salaries, the income is naturally limited. You only have so many hours in a day you can work. On the other hand, if you are good at what you do, and you can work for 3 hours a day and be highly productive and valuable in the eyes of your employer, then in this case, your productivity-based compensation will capture the value your employer will pay you more than you can possibly earn by working 8 hours a day in the fixed wage, based on your productivity and value delivered to the employer. And again, all of this is negotiated between employees and employers. Okay? Okay? Now, the heart of the supplementary benefits are what we call the virtual income machines: virtual wages, virtual dividends, virtual bonds, and virtual stocks. Now, in general, the virtual income machines are internet-centered crowdfunding solutions linked to the new blockchain technology and applications. For example, I'm sure you're aware, blockchain is the technology associated with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. However, unlike most crowdfunding solutions, individuals providing funds make money or receive financial return from their support. Okay? Let's get into it. Virtual wages. Virtual wages is one of the 4 unique specialized crowdfunding solutions we call a virtual income machine. Virtual wages ensure employees can get funds to pay on bills, build up savings, and generally build a financial foundation leading away from paycheck-to-paycheck dependence prior to showing up for work for an EECM enterprise. No debt-related credit checks, collateral, or related issues apply. Once the individual submit a resume, interview, and get a job in one of these enterprises, they can secure the funds. So again, this makes it possible for people to very easily, or to feel comfortable showing up for work in an enterprise without the hourly wage model, because they get funds to pay on bills, build their savings, and generally build a financial foundation leading away from paycheck dependence. That way they can show up for work with a comfortable feel, and then they can focus their energy on maximizing the primary resources of the model. Right? So that's the purpose behind this crowdfunding solution. Virtual dividends. Virtual dividends is also one of the 4 unique specialized crowdfunding solutions we call the virtual income machines. Virtual dividends serve 2 primary purposes. One, they ensure EECM enterprises can raise capital without going into debt and without violating 100% ownership provisions associated with the EECM. They also ensure empowered employees will always have monthly income coming in from sources other than their primary resources. This serves as a diversification of income, or a diversification of the income safety net, which adds to the safety net created by virtual wages. Think about it. Again, as I mentioned before, these enterprises are 100% owned by workers and the employers, no outside investors. So how do they raise funds? They use this program called a virtual income machine to raise unlimited funds without violating the 100% ownership provisions associated with the model. Okay? A lot there, but that's the basic concept. Virtual bonds. Virtual bonds is also one of the 4 unique specialized crowdfunding solutions we call the virtual income machine. Virtual wages and virtual dividends are linked to EECM. However, the virtual bonds is a wealth resource accessible to individuals independent of the EECM one may work for. Okay? People can use this new wealth resource to fund continuing education and skill set upgrades prior to showing up for work for the EECM enterprise. By the way, guys, all this is strictly conceptual right now. This stuff, as of this presentation, has not been put to the test. This is very early and conceptual, and one of the purposes of these grassroots-led collaboration I mentioned is to come online and learn this stuff and engage and collaborate with each other to see what makes sense and what doesn't. That's the whole purpose of the research. I'm just giving you the concepts and the ideology behind this model. Okay? Virtual stocks. Virtual stock is also one of the 4 unique specialized crowdfunding solutions we call the virtual income machine. Virtual stocks ensures large companies and corporations can adequately facilitate, support, maintain, and motivate the formation of internal EECM subsidiaries without compromising 100% ownership integrity of the EECM subsidiaries and without compromising ownership value of their existing stock or the ability to raise capital via the traditional stock market. All this says is that if you conceptualize one of these EECM concepts, plugging into a large corporation, large established corporation who already has stock outstanding in the market, in the stock market, this shows how you can fit the two together without violating the 100% ownership provisions of the EECM and without violating the stock market environment of the company they're working for. Okay? Again, just a concept, right? So in general, we go back to the mission. To conduct grassroots-led economic research on how to apply the internet and other information technology. This is the perfect example of how we apply the internet and other information technology, in this case the blockchain relative to the virtual income machines, to address this mission issue. Okay? Private retirement plans. Okay, again, this is just a concept feeding the model. The EECM is the antithesis of traditional workplace retirement benefits, such as defined benefit plans, corporate pensions, and 401ks. Under the model, people show up for work to build wealth, not for hourly wages, salaries, or corporate benefits. The model represents complete independence from traditional corporate benefits, with a 100% focus on eliminating fixed costs that are not associated with real-time productivity and profits. So to this end, empowered employees are encouraged to take control of their own retirement investment planning. Again, this is the antithesis of what you normally think of as traditional benefit with an established corporation, right? But this model is sort of considered a 100% collaboration between employers and employers with the focus to earn income and earn profits, and the financial empowered employees can go off and handle their own retirement plans and all that. Incidentally, the ownership equity benefit, simply by showing up for work, people build ownership equity, right? Show up for work, and then if you leave a particular company, you cash out of that one company and invest in another company or invest in other places. That's the model. Okay? Will it work? You'll see. That's the purpose of the dialogue and collaboration, right? Group medical. In this scenario, large entrepreneurial associations will provide medical benefits. Think about it. Empowered employees are effective entrepreneurs on the job. So conceptually, large national entrepreneurial members of organizations will naturally form, segmented according to industry, professions, etc. These entrepreneurial organizations can provide extremely affordable group medical care for their association members, thereby freeing up the individual EECM enterprises from their expense. Again, another concept, another ideology, because again, you want to, each individual worker owner is functioning independently of benefits associated with that, with his or her employment with a given enterprise, relative to stuff like group medical benefits. They're there to earn income and make money and build wealth. Again, he goes off and develops his own, their own entrepreneurial benefits via association with other people of various industries, right? So the bottom line is, each individual professional can form an association, and that association, as it grows, will be able to go to the marketplace and secure group medical benefits for their association members. Again, just a concept, folks. But I think this concept has massive potential if it's adopted on a large scale. Okay? And again, obviously, group medical is a high profile issue. So this vision is obviously would be subject to government healthcare legislation, mandates, all that. Right? Okay, so here's the bottom line though with that. Again, it's a model. I think the model is massive and has massive potential. As we engage this stuff online and begin to have dialogue and look at forming these new enterprises, and crowdfund these new enterprises, we can figure out what makes sense and what doesn't. All right, very quickly here. Here's a snapshot of how employees, employers, and nation at large benefits from this model. For example, employees effectively get the best of both worlds. They get the income, ownership, profitability, and flexibility associated with running a profitable business without losing the financial security and guaranteed steady amount of paycheck peace of mind normally associated with a steady job. Financial security and the guaranteed steady amount of paycheck peace of mind comes from the virtual income machines as noted earlier, not hourly wages and salaries. Again, they can use the virtual wages to pay their bills, build their savings, and generally build a financial foundation leading away from paycheck dependence, so on and so forth. Employers get a highly productive workplace, i.e. ownership motivates, right? Without having to pay the traditional payroll expense, which is 60% of operating expenses, 70% in some cases. Think about traditional payroll represents a fixed expense to companies. So regardless of whether the company makes a sale or profit in a given month, they still have to meet their fixed payroll. Right? This is why people have to borrow money and all that, right? The empowered employee compensation model eliminates the fixed payroll expense because employers can pay employees in the form of productivity, sales, and profits, which is linked to real-time productivity and sales, thus creating a significant cash flow flexibility for employers. And again, because of the virtual income machines, particularly virtual wages, the average employee or worker owner would be comfortable working without an hourly wage or salary. Okay? Benefits to the nation at large. Consider this. The empowered employee compensation model encourages people to own their own productive efforts instead of just renting it for an hourly wage. When people own their own productive efforts, they are more productive. It's been proven over and over again. When people are more productive, it costs less to produce a valuable product or service. When it costs less to enjoy a quality product or service, then you can save more without degrading your standard of living. And as you and others save more, additional capital is available for business startups and expansion at lower and lower interest rates, creating more work options. Of course, with more work options, your skill and experience is worth more, and your income will naturally increase, so on and so forth. Okay, so in summary, as you can see, the empowered employee compensation model represents a comprehensive, radical redesign of a traditional workplace which could lead to a threefold increase in the aggregate standard of living. Of course, as I mentioned before, the empowered employee compensation model is just a hypothesis associated with this grassroots-led economic research industry. In other words, we want to put this thing to the test in the real world to see what works and what don't, and what doesn't. Okay? It's basically what I call large-scale collaboration, folks. For example, as you will learn later, we have Facebook groups, and eventually we're going to have an internal hub, call it the Minds Economic Research Hub, to facilitate all this collaboration and interactivity, and also crowdfunding, as you will see later. Okay, but that's the basic message, here, folks. So one summary point of one take-on or takeaway from this overview of the empowered employee compensation model. It is a concept, an ideology, or a vision that we're looking to introduce to the general business public and get your feedback and dialogue and put it to the test real time and see what works. If it doesn't work out, we make adjustments, we evaluate different other versions or combinations of versions, right? And see what works. Again, economic research is the whole focus. All right, building the bridge. Now again, our goal here is to what? Build a bridge from the traditional workplace model to this new empowered employee compensation model. Okay? Now, again, as I mentioned before, it's grassroots led. So people participate in multiple ways, as I mentioned before. Some will come online to participate as aspiring entrepreneurs, participate in part-time as independent contractors, create professionals, participate in part-time as independent contractors and home and small business owners, and affiliate and referral marketers. All participate and collaborate to help build the bridge to this new empowered employee compensation model. As I mentioned before, those who don't participate, most and who at least buy into the mission, they want to support it, but simply help crowdfund operations and track the growth and expansion, so on and so forth. All right. Now, from this point, we simply encourage the formation of new ECM enterprises from ground up and crowdfund the resulting enterprise. By the way, when I use the phrase ECM enterprise, it's an enterprise or company organized according to the empowered employee compensation model. Okay. Now, with this in mind, consider this. We set up an online platform freely available to the public called the Minds Economic Research Hub. I may change this name eventually, but that's what it's called now. Kind of a crazy name. But now, we encourage those participating professionally to come online part-time and collaborate toward forming these new ECM enterprises. Right? We use crowdfunding dollars to motivate this online collaborative activity where we crowdfund the resulting enterprise. So just think people coming online at this hub, collaborating, learning more about the models, engaging each other part-time online to see what makes sense as far as collaborating on a business model, you know, to start a small enterprise to produce a product or service. For example, to make this collaboration work, for example, aspiring entrepreneurs who participate would take the lead in forming one of these new ECM enterprises, and they will get immediate access to the crowdfunding resources and free marketing for the product or service their enterprise create. That's the incentive, right? I mean, why would someone come in and want to form one of these enterprises? Because the system we have in place will crowdfund the resulting enterprise, and the product or service that they produce will be, you know, they will get free marketing to a potentially massive audience, especially as this concept grows. And most of the audience will want to see them succeed. Why? Because most of the audience online in this hub are people who buy into the mission and they want to see this thing move, or they want to explore the possibilities of the potential of this model. So aspiring entrepreneurs who choose to participate can benefit significantly from this program, especially given the limitations of what's available to aspiring entrepreneurs. Again, it's very hard to get capital, and once you get capital, it's very hard to market and get visibility. So we solve both those problems all in one shot. Okay, for those aspiring entrepreneurs who want to come in and take up this challenge. Okay, career professionals who want to come online part-time and collaborate with aspiring entrepreneurs toward the formation of one of these new enterprises will be in the position to work online within their area of professional interest and earn multiple ownership-based resources. Okay? Home and small business owners who want to come online, collaborate, and use this system to grow and expand their businesses can strategically benefit from the crowdfunding and market benefits provided to aspiring entrepreneurs. How? Through collaboration. You know, what makes sense. You know, we hope to energize a dynamic collaborative business environment toward creating these new enterprises. And affiliate and referral marketers can earn significant referral-based income simply by referring others to this new online platform, which is freely accessible to the public, as I mentioned before. So yes, they can still, the platform is free, and affiliate marketers can still earn significant income by referring others. We do it using another alliance model that runs under the hood of referring activity. Okay? Now, these collaborations start online part-time, where we seek to form new ECM enterprises that's 100% owned by part-time participants online. This way, participating career professionals can earn the 3 ownership-based resources associated with ECM by working within their area of professional interest online part-time. In other words, they earn these 3 ownership-based compensation resources. Part-time online, we can be very lucrative, given that we have the ability to form, you know, online enterprises part-time that makes sense. Now, again, that's a part of the collaboration and research. Can we produce solutions that make sense where people can actually work online part-time and collaborate, produce a product, and then market that product within the hub and make money? We're going to test that real time. Okay. Now, operating guidelines. Again, you may ask yourself, why would entrepreneurs pay this type of compensation? Well, again, our goal here is to put the ECM compensation resources in play. Therefore, operation guidelines require entrepreneurs to pay this type of compensation. Entrepreneurs must comply with these guidelines to secure crowdfunding resources and marketing benefits. The goal is to, over time, is to test to see whether it's advantageous from a pure business standpoint. I think it would be. Why? Because you have highly productive employees that does not require an hourly wage or salary, which gives the entrepreneur who's receiving capital tons of leverage and freedom to grow and market their enterprise. Okay? Think of it this way. You're starting a new economic trend by encouraging the formation of these new EECM enterprises. If the enterprises are successful, over time, the trend grows and expands offline into the mainstream workplace, where over time, it will eventually become the norm, not the exception. Now, obviously, that would take a while, you know what I mean? But that's the concept. It's to start a trend online, forming these new enterprises and putting them to the test and putting them out there in the mainstream workplace, first online. Then, if successful, you know, they move on offline, or we crowdfund brand new solutions or enterprises offline that can function 100% with full-time worker owners operating and earning income according to the primary resources. So by expanding this trend and making it more and more of a commonplace, that's effectively the essence of building this bridge. It's the economic growth and expansion of the concept that we put together. Now, before this thing becomes mainstream, obviously that's years away. Probably more applicable for future generations. But our goal is to at least plant the seeds and put in place, preferably over time, thousands of these new enterprises operating successfully, either online or in the mainstream workplace or some combination of. Okay? You think of this, it's an old saying, you know, if you throw enough stones into a bucket of water, you will eventually replace all the water in the bucket with stone, right? Regardless of the size of the bucket of water. Now, with that in mind, successful EECM enterprises represent the stones, and the bucket of water represents traditional employment. So in essence, folks, the research is throwing these stones, right? It may sound crazy, but you know, creating these new enterprises and putting these stones into the bucket. Over time, you know, if successful, it will eventually, and the end result is everybody wins. Employers, as I mentioned in the models, as well as the employees, as well as the nation at large. According to the theory, of course, it has to be proven, but that's the concept. All right, now here's sort of like an operating principle, right? You know, whereas, you know, kind of basically says, all grassroots participants must be willing to learn, collaborate, and interact with each other online to form these new EECM enterprises and collectively crowdfund each enterprise in a unified and collective effort to test the empowered employee compensation model and build the bridge. This is strategic alliance among all participating grassroots individuals. As I mentioned, we're going to have a hub called the Minds Economic Research Hub, or whatever it ends up being called. But that's the concept. To have a focused effort under that umbrella to grow and expand these enterprises for years to come. Okay? It goes back to my primary focus at the beginning. Mass collaboration changes everything. So when you have this collaborative effort that people focus on building these stones, if you will, and storing these stones into the bucket of waste-based employment, the potential long-term can be significant. And again, for what I can see, there's no downside. Again, I know I'm probably idealistic. And again, we will determine that as we move forward in the research and activity. Okay? All right, now we grow and expand according to a 4-stage business plan, as I mentioned earlier. Now, pre-launch stage 1 and stage 2 is all pretty much online. Or at least that's the going in position. That may change. But right now, it's pretty much designed as an online solution where we create online enterprises where people can participate part-time online, earn income, and validate the feasibility of this thing online. And then we move in main operations. We move offline, right? Start forming full-time enterprises. And because if successful over time, what we do, the fruits of what we do will ultimately end up in the mainstream corporate workplace. Okay. Of course, each crowdfunding solution will support that. Again, early on, we have an early support crowdfunding solution. Then the empowered crowdfunding system, and then stage 1, more mainstream version of it. And then stage 2, the graduate entrepreneurial allocated resource system, and stage 3, the virtual link-up machines. Now, again, as I mentioned, all this takes place at the Minds Economic Research Hub, located at mindsonline.net/hub. This project is in very early stages of development, so this may change, but for right now, that's the going in position. All right? So hopefully that makes sense. Again, you'll learn more as you get involved and join the Facebook group below and plug in. Okay? Crowdfunding. So how the heck do we crowdfund this thing? Okay, let's take a look at some crowdfunding options. Early support crowdfunding, pre-launch stage 1. This is a very simple subscription-supported crowdfunding model. Here we encourage you to support the economic research by subscribing to a monthly newsletter at $10 a month. The newsletter will be delivered to your email box monthly. This newsletter will offer you continuous the ongoing updates associated with the growth and expansion of the research campaign, as well as other education and conceptual support content. This way you can monitor and evaluate operations in real time and decide if you want to continue your support month after month after month. Now, obviously, this is only for those of you who buy into the mission. In other words, you want to see us move this economic research forward. If you do, then support it up front. Right? Very simple. $10 a month. You get continuous information, real time sent to your email box. You can track with links to different benefits as the thing grows. You have access to information that can be very valuable to you, depending on certain situations. Okay. Pre-launch phase 2 will launch a program called the Empowered Crowdfunding System. The Empowered Crowdfunding System. Say this: with traditional crowdfunding, individuals in the crowd come out of pocket to donate and invest into entrepreneurial projects presented by fundraising entrepreneurs. You see this with Kickstarter, GoFundMe, or Indiegogo. Those regular crowdfunding solutions. That's what they do. People come out of pocket to support who they want to support. Now, with ECFCS, or with the Empowered Crowdfunding System, the crowd uses this system to earn significant positive income first. Then they are encouraged, not required, to donate or give back a percentage of the funds they incur to support follow-on fundraisers. In other words, the crowd is financially empowered first, and then the crowd is motivated to give back to the system. This is sufficient, I said, because once we fund a new work-owned enterprise, these enterprises start earning income, the employees within that enterprise joins the empowered crowd with the ability to donate back. We encourage people to donate month after month, not just one-time donation. This creates a renewable and ever-expanding fund for years to come, like a snowball rolling down the hill. Right? It's a simple gradually-led concept where those benefit from the system donate back to support their peers. This is simple but powerful little business model. Okay? Now, the affiliate and referral marketers become the first empowered crowd because they are the first to earn income in the system. Again, you'll learn more about this model if you choose to participate in what I call the Affiliate Innovation Alliance, which is a link below, where we teach the models we use to earn income by simply referring people to a free system. But the income solutions are very powerful, very lucrative for those who choose to participate. For this reason, the affiliate and referral marketers will jumpstart the system and get the snowball rolling down the hill. Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, based on early projections, we anticipate that the affiliate and referral marketing will collectively create a $16 million per month crowdfunding engine to jumpstart the ECFCS, or the Empowered Crowdfunding System, prior to a stage 1 launch. That's the plan. That's the going in position. Will it work? We'll see. Everything about this project, folks, is research, putting this stuff to the test and see what happens. But the potential is there. The business modeling is there. Okay? Now, the gradual allocated research system is simply a more advanced targeted version of ECFCS. We can get into that later on in during the stage 2 rollout. Okay? course, the virtual linking machines is the advanced crowdfunding solution I introduced earlier, right? It formally launches in stage 3 because it's more of an advanced model, and we need a massive infrastructure online to make the virtual linking machines work. Okay. Now, the particular business models we run for the, I present all that in the stage 3 environment, which is quite a ways away. But you understand the concept I went over before, which is to serve as a financial foundation to the primary resources, right? Okay. And again, as I mentioned before, all these crowdfunding resources feed into the economic research activity because I have to put them to the test as well as the model. Okay. Pre-launch phase 1. This is where we are, folks. Pre-launch phase 1, very early stages of development. Now, we open pre-launch with 3 operational legs. Minds, which is a multiple income networking and development services, which is this company. And then Think Big Mastermind Alliance and the Affiliate Innovation Alliance. Minds is obviously the economic hub supporting operations. That's where ultimately we're going to develop the Minds Economic Research Hub, to kind of underwrite all of the activity. Okay, which is not, which doesn't come online, I think, to pre-launch phase 2 or close to stage 1. Prior to that, our primary focus right now is to use a Facebook group to engage in dialogue, and we expect that Facebook group to grow and expand significantly with people interested in learning more. And then once we open up the hub, then people will be ready to go with ideas and concepts, and we can start collaborating on business models or the enterprise, forming enterprises. By that time, the crowdfunding solution, the affiliate marketers, we've been earning income and ready to support the new online enterprises that we put forth in the system. Okay. Think Big Mastermind Alliance is primarily another promotional or support platform feeding minds. Primarily a promotional arm. Some of you may probably came to this page through the Think Big Mastermind Alliance promotion. Okay. The Affiliate Innovation Alliance is really the platform for the affiliate and referral marketers who choose to help promote and market this program and earn income simply by promoting a free system. In other words, guys, during this pre-launch phase 1, if you want to earn income through this system, this is how you do it. Join the Affiliate Innovation Alliance, plug in, learn the models, learn how we make money by referring people to a free system, plug in, and go to work. Because you will be on the front end, and you will ultimately be the first empowered crowd, so that once we open up the hub, you will be sitting there preferably sitting there with money stored away to begin to support the new enterprises that we put forth at the hub once we open it. Okay, so that way, so that's kind of like the dynamics of how we get this thing moving. But right now, this is where the action is. The Affiliate Referral Line, the Affiliate Innovation Alliance, as far as earning income. Okay, so if you're into that, I highly recommend you join the Affiliate Innovation Alliance using the instructions we have below. Okay. Okay, so during this early pre-launch period, our focus is as follows. Option 1, encourage you to join the Minds Facebook group to engage in the educational dialogue. You see a link below on option 1. Option 2, we encourage those of you who truly buy into the economic mission to support the $10 a month newsletter. Subscribe to it because that's our early fundraising solutions to slowly but surely begin to build out the operational infrastructure we need to run this thing. Okay. Then option 3, we encourage you, strongly recommend, especially if you're open to referral marketing, to join the Affiliate Innovation Line to help get the word out and make money at the same time. Okay, that's what time it is. That's basically it, folks. I appreciate the time. This presentation was about an hour long. Sorry for the link, but as you know, as you can see, there's quite a bit of information. But again, if you have tons of questions, that's great. Come into the Facebook group, put your questions out there. We start dialoguing, answering, and offer you more information as we go. Okay. If you join the $10 a month newsletter, you get even more information that will give you more insights into the long-term potential. Because the key to this whole project, folks, is potential. How can we how can we create a long-term solution, especially for future generations, to make this a mainstream phenomenon? But simultaneously, how can everyone participating now get involved in this thing and make money? That's what it's all about. While slowly but surely field testing, evaluating, and figuring and determining what makes sense for this business model. Okay? Appreciate your time, folks. Thanks.